taking, like every practice, like he doesn't throw it all of them at once, but like we've had, I said it's 3 weeks of practice, and these coxes that are going back and forth, he teaches them like obviously he starts with the most important stuff, but he works his way down as they understand, how to cox. He works his way down all the way to like how to call everything. It's like the most like the most ass thing when they're like some person who doesn't know what they're doing. It's like trying to call a transition. They're like, okay, and two, and they're like calling it at like the middle of the. I'm like, what the fuck? Like they're not calling it when it's like hitting. They're not calling like each stroke the same time. They're calling everything like all weird number. You know what I mean? Like at different times, and it just doesn't work. And they're trying to do their job, but they just don't know what they're doing. So the coach is really good about going over all that kind of stuff and making sure they know what's happening. And I try to give them feedback and all that kind of stuff. So it's been pretty good. How many like girls, how many guys are that?
Really, real quick, let's roll an intro.
Okay.
Welcome back to the 888 podcast. I am here with my friend Thomas from Kansas. How you doing, Thomas?
Doing pretty good these days.
So before we were talking a little bit about rowing, Thomas and I rowed on the same team for about 2 years while I was in high school. And then I left when I graduated. And now I'm back on that team as a coach. And so that's kind of what we were talking about before. What is it? Yeah, there's only like it's mostly girls. I think there's 3 guys, and one of them's Benton, and the other one's Austin. So he only like half counts.
Yeah. So I mean, at least Benton's got like a good. At least Benton's got like a good double partner. It sounds like with the other guy. I mean, is the other guy? What's that? You said Brody.
Yeah, Brody. Okay. Yeah.
How is he like? Would you say he's these? I mean, he's good for a beginner for just starting out.
Jay's thrown him in a rec single, and then yeah.
That's good.
But that's good. Let me tell you, it's really difficult because as I navigate like what this is becoming as an assistant coach on the team, like more and more they kind of tell me to expect to engage with like the board and like things like that, and it's like
okay.
Then Jay came at me the other day. He was like, "Did you ask someone to get you money?" And I was like, and then I was like, "No, Jay, you told me that you would go to the board and ask them to pay me gas money." Like $10 a practice times 4 times a week is $40 a week, and I know that that's like kind of an expense.
That's pretty doable.
But $40 a week times or subtracted from like however much 9 times, a minimum of 9 times however much everybody paid for this season.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I mean, that's not that expensive for them. They should be able to cover that pretty easily. I mean, they have like, how much money they have. Just what they're planning, right? They're planning to move the club to Longview Lake and set up have a legit boathouse and everything. In a couple of years.
Is that in Lee Summit?
It's like I can't. Yeah, I don't. It's close to that. I know that like they've planned it where there's something like within like a 10-mile radius or something like 20,000 high school kids or something like that. Mm-hmm. It's something crazy. It's some like insane number of people that are like within a 10-mile radius of this place, or 15. And so that's what they're banking on in the long run. It's like either having like a really nice. I don't know if it's gonna be a full boat. I honestly don't know what the setup's gonna be, but I know they have quite a bit of money saved up for that. And that's what they're doing. Because for the last however many years, I don't really think I've spent anything on anything besides just expenses for the year.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know. It's interesting to see.
Joining KCRC, the team really wasn't that big until what's it called? It It was big when I first kind of joined. It was a lot bigger when I joined.
It was bigger. It was bigger when I first joined. Like even
Right.
before you were. It was like, yeah, there was quite a. I mean, there was like maybe I don't know, 15, at least 15 people on the team probably.
Right.
When I was first there, and then like seniors left, and
so it's kind of a combo.
No, they don't do recruiting.
Yeah, they don't do recruiting. So it's like a triple threat of COVID. They don't do recruiting, and they're based in fucking Wyandotte.
Yeah, and they're like nobody can find. That's also another reason why they want to move is because nobody can. It's just like a horrible. I mean, it's not horrible location, but it's bad location.
Yeah, you can't go on Google Maps and type in an address. For the rowing area, you have to drive halfway around the lake. I've never been able to do that. I always say, take me to the rowing area on my Google Maps, and it's like, all right, we're gonna take you to the front main entrance of the lake, and you can figure the rest of that shit out.
Pretty much. Yeah, I don't know, but I think that's definitely why they're trying to bank on this move because, but I don't know when it's gonna happen, but I do know that's happening sometime. But yeah, there'll be, they need to. I don't know. I mean, it's gonna be a hell of a lot easier to recruit when, it's like we're like 10 minutes away from you, and it's easy to find. It's a better location if they have like I think they're gonna have either like a legit boathouse or like a really nice boatyard. I don't know what they're gonna, or like at least like a tented, place.
The big thing for me right now is like, and what really pisses me off is because Jay told me that the board like didn't want to pay me. It's a 40-minute drive for me. It's like 20 miles on my tank.
They didn't want to pay you gas money?
They don't want to pay me anything, dude. They want it to be like a whole volunteer thing. And then
that's crazy. How do you do that like 3 days a week for nothing?
I don't.
If you live like 5 minutes away,
I'm not going to do it for much longer. If that's like how my future is. Jay said that he would.
I heard that you're getting gas money.
Yeah. So that was the plan. That's great. I'm ready for that.
I wouldn't do it if I wouldn't do it either if I wasn't. I would it'd be difficult for me to do any. Yeah, that'd be
just because it also like provides this huge constraint on my schedule because now
it's a long ass
4 days a week I'm like unavailable Saturday mornings and Monday, Wednesday, Thursday evenings for like working and stuff, and I'm not available during the morning because of classes.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of, you are a film major, and I know that you started with some stuff in high school. Let's kind of talk a little bit about the high school kind of film and how you got into it.
Sure. Yeah. Well, as a when you transition, obviously, as a freshman in Olathe, they have every Olathe high school has their own set of academy. So like my high school, Olathe Northwest, had this thing called Communications Academy and Aerospace and Engineering Academy, and you can choose either one of those and you apply to them to get in. And other Olathe high schools have like EMS and fire as one of them, and there's a whole bunch of others. Just every Northwest, everything. Everybody's got one, and that happened to be ours. And so I applied for the communications to get into that. I had to do a little interview, and then they pretty much just determine if you're like a decent student or not, and that's pretty much it. And so got into that, and then you pretty much as a freshman you pick one of the 4 strands of the communications that they offer, and you pretty much put all your elective credits towards that. And they have entertainment video, which is what I wanted to, which is pretty much film. It's making anything from learning how to make anything from short films to full-length movies, commercials, music videos, corporate video, public service announcements, all that kind of stuff. Just learning the entire production process. So that's entertainment video. There's also web design, there's graphic design, and there's animation. And so I picked, as I said, film, pretty much the film strand of that. And so for all 4 years of high school, I did at least 2 hours a day of learning that process. So we pretty much just did we'd have like we pretty much just had projects. So the first freshman year was a little more introductory, but sophomore, junior, and senior year, we pretty much were constantly working on projects. So that meant like we went into class, and let's say it was the commercial unit. The teacher would just give us the little slideshow, about 3 slides of what they expect. And then they'd say, split up into groups, less than, 5 or less people. And they just split up into whoever you wanted, and you have this long to make. The commercial needs to be 60 seconds long. That's all I'd say pretty much. And, they'd obviously have the little slideshow, so we kind of knew what to do. And I pretty much went with the same group of people, same group of guys for every single one of those projects, sophomore through senior year, because we worked really well together. We figured that out after the first couple times. Everybody kind of had their own like niche role, and it just really worked. And we made some of the best stuff pretty much in nearly every project. The top 2 are the best of whatever project that was. It was commercial, short film, just because we all worked well together and we actually cared about it. There's a lot of people like after sophomore year, a lot of people dropped out because they realized that it got a little bit more serious like junior year, like with the grading and everything. And so it really became apparent who, wanted to do this or not. And like every couple of weeks or whatever, we'd have like, sometimes they'd bring in speakers, not speakers, but like industry professionals to talk about, just their journey so far in the industry. And so we'd kind of listen to them, and they would kind of ask, who wants to do this for a career. And we'd always be like the guys who, we'd like to do this for a career. And so did that. They have like this yearly awards, or this pretty much is media competition for the school. Actually, not for just schools, it's for actually a statewide competition for all Kansas high schools. So I think it's something like, I don't know, maybe 80 high schools enter stuff in this competition. So it's pretty big competition. Thousands of kids entering different, they have every category in the media in my kind of field, going from music video, short film, commercial, PSA, all that kind of stuff. And so every year, over the past 3 years, we submitted, I think sophomore year, we probably submitted 5 projects. Junior and senior year, we submitted like 1 for every single category. And we ended up in the little awards. It's pretty much like a high school version of the Oscars for us. And the little awards you win are really prized like in that competition. And they're called pixels, like these little glass kind of diamond cut. They look kind of cool. And they have, obviously it's a big premiere event. Everybody dresses up, and except this year, obviously, because it got fucked over. So we didn't do that. It was all like a virtual thing. But the past 2 years, we did that. We won. We ended up winning, I think, 5 total. We won music video, a couple of short films, public service announcement, and a commercial one time. And so that was fun. And that kind of just, I don't know, just those little things kind of just make you more, they give you a little more confidence that you could do this in the long run, And I've had, and pretty much back in February, we were kind of getting towards the end of school. Obviously, we were all still in school. And those same guys, we were like, we started to have a lot less work because it was in the senior year. Obviously, we weren't COVID era yet, but we were getting close to that, but we didn't realize it, obviously. And spring break was coming up. We had some ideas, and we went last October, 2019 October. We went to New York City for this high school film festival, and pretty much all those guys that are part of my group went to this school trip, and we went to this high school film festival. And it's funny because the film festival we could have submitted stuff for, but our teacher, whenever she talked about it, she pretty much informed us about the competition after the deadline had passed. So we literally just went to watch everything, kind of just experienced it was fun. Like, you're just in New York messing around, and went to this like 2-day event at the New York, at the AMC in Times Square. And so we saw all these really high quality high school films. And after like the event, we all just kind of had this epiphany of like, holy shit, we have to really up our game and, start, if we want to take this seriously, we need to go all out and do whatever we can, And so then in February, we formed a group, and we for about a week, we were arguing over names for what our pseudo company was going to be, and had a whole bunch of different names. And I eventually, they wouldn't probably, nobody really going to, I'm not going to like say this, that I came up with the name, but it was my idea that we were kind of stuck on a couple. And I just kind of had this random thought, and I was like, and it ended up being Mountain View Pictures. Now we're just an LLC, but so that was the name, and everybody kind of liked it. And because we're kind of going for like a more like old school but not feel, and we all like, you know, we're all not like real big city people. We all would rather be.
Did you say Mountain Dew?
The outdoors, like in Colorado. No, Mountain View.
Oh, Mountain View
Pictures.
Oh, okay, I
yes.
thought you said Mountain Dew Pictures.
Yeah, Mountain Dew.
Is that a joke? Like that would have been hilarious. Applying to college and it just says Mountain Dew Pictures and in one of your submissions.
God, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. So you kind of breezed over so you guys went to a film festival in New York, and that's what inspired you to start your company, right?
Kind of, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I would say in the long run, that's probably what it was. We realized at that point, like, how much ground we needed to make up, you know, just how, like, and the thing is, so, like, it wasn't just, I mean, we didn't have nearly the equipment that a lot of these people had that were in the competition, you know, because they had insane, like, you know, I mean, film equipment costs a lot of money whenever you come down to it. These people probably had 50K worth of equipment, and we had like maybe $1,500, you know, total. And so, and they had like actual actors and talent, and, you know, we were just using whoever the hell we could find that would go through the pain of like a 6-hour shoot. That's who we were using for all of our shit. It was either us acting in it, right? And like acting and shooting and like being behind the camera and, you know, acting, or we were finding whoever the hell would, you know, suffer through a day of shooting. And so these people obviously had like full cast and whatever, but yeah, it definitely gave us like a great inspirational point. I remember walking out of the theater. And we just talked, like we were walking back to our hotel, and we just talked like the entire way there. It was probably a 30-minute walk. We just talked like going nuts, just talking about everything we needed to do. What, you know, we're gonna have weekly meetings. We're gonna blah blah blah, all this stuff. And but the thing is, so to become like a successful filmmaker, you have to do a lot of client work. I mean, at least if you're not financed, right? If you're not financed by anybody, then you have to do quite a bit of client work first to get, you know, just make money and to buy equipment and that kind of thing. So for the last 5-6 months, we've been doing, you know, it's definitely inconsistent right now, but we have a couple, we've done quite a few just commercials, promotional videos. Most recently, we've kind of not transitioned, but we've added on this kind of new service that we're doing, where a lot of like bigger companies in Kansas City that aren't really they're not, you know, hugely active online, like financial firms and like a lot of you know, just, yeah, pretty much any like think of any company that really isn't trying to impress anybody online, but they still need to have a presence there, and they still need to have like a LinkedIn page and a Facebook and a website and all this stuff being updated constantly. And sometimes they need like corporate video done, or like a promotional video, or like this, they want this service talked about, or they want to interview with their CEO talking about this or whatever, you know. So what we've done is those companies, we're kind of I don't want to say taking advantage, but like there's a great opportunity to make money where you pretty much put all those services, photography, video, social media management, website design, and content creation into one monthly service fee package. So we're on a contract, but we're pretty much on a month-to-month basis contract with one company right now, and we're about to get another one. One of them is a financial firm. The other one is a real estate and an architecture like design firm. And I think I just emailed the guy actually today talking about that and just kind of pricing with it. Because obviously I'm pricing it differently depending on the needs of these companies, but it's just like a monthly service, like month to month, like they're paying a set fee for each of these, like just depending on how much, like let's say they do a lot more website content creation and whatever, then I might put that as a bigger block of money, you know what I mean? Just like and then I break it down into one flat monthly price that they're paying. No matter if they're taking full advantage of those services or not, it's one monthly price. So let's say they have 2 videos they want to do this month, but zero for the next 3 months. They're still paying the same price for that chunk of you know, of service. And also they're paying, you know, a decent fee, but it's also a lot lower compared to when if you took all those services apart, and if I tried to charge them separately for like project-based stuff, then it'd be a lot more expensive. And if we can break it down to like, let's say we figure out that we're doing 8 hours of website management for this one company every month, and we just break it down, that's what we're getting paid by. Let's say we take it $30 an hour times 8. That's like our estimation in that portion of that monthly service fee. And so that's what we're going to try to do for more companies. Honestly, we're doing that because we want to have more time to do more film stuff. And most recently, we shot I was in Colorado the entire summer, most of the entire summer, with a guy at the company actually working out there. And we shot like this. We had like a camera and a tripod and a mic, and that was it. And we shot like this kind of fun, like cliche Western, like an 8-9 minute Western, just for fun, like comedy kind of thing. And I acted in it, and we had a couple of the staff out there acting it. And it was just, kind of fun to make, just kind of a random thing, not like a whole bunch of effort put into it, but fun to make. And it ended up being pretty funny and looking pretty decent. And so we did that, and then we did some client work. And then most recently we had this there's a film competition called My Reel 2020, and it's the biggest short film competition in the world. And it's run by this company who makes microphones and all kinds of audio equipment, professional audio equipment. And they have a ton of sponsors, and it's $1 million total. The judges prize is like 200 grand. There's like 20 categories you can win stuff. There's a lot of opportunity, and it has to be a 3-minute or less short film. And so we just shot, and it's called A Hit in the Dark, and it's this kind of crime mobster like a scene. Have you seen Goodfellas? Like Martin Scorsese Goodfellas? Yeah. So like remember like the opening like trunk scene, like whenever he like, I always wanted to be a gangster, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right. So we have like this kind of the scene out of that, not like direct rip off of it, but like a similar type scene with a couple like wise guys like trying to get rid of this guy. And it's more of a, I would say it's comedy / drama. It's not like a total serious like we're trying to be fucking Martin Scorsese, because we have like guys that can barely pull off any kind of accent, and it's like it's kind of just trying to be funny. And it's a 3-minute short, and it kind of goes into like these guys that are trying to get rid of this guy, get rid of this businessman. He's got like the classic like wife beater and boxers on, and like they're trying to get rid of him. I think they're having him dig his own grave out there, and they're arguing, and then they have to get rid of him a different way because something goes wrong. It's kind of just a funny like it's we try to put a lot into 3 minutes, which it didn't really turn out as like the buildup isn't as good as I would want it to be, just because we kind of had like in the final edit we kind of had to take some lines out, just because there's just too much to put in there. But we'll have like a full length edit eventually. But so yeah, we've been wanting to do a lot, more film work and kind of transitioning into that. And we have a couple of contacts in Kansas City. This one guy that we're actually going to be helping crew. We're going to be helping do some crew positions like sound, lighting, like assistant director, that kind of stuff on in the next couple of weeks for a full-length documentary feature that's going to be on Netflix next year. So we'll be like on the crew, we'll be in the credits for that. This guy's like a decent, name in Kansas City filmmaking, and he's seen some of our work, and he wants to do some collaboration in the future. So that's another thing we're probably going to work on is I'm going to email him about kind of getting a call with everybody and kind of talking about maybe a bigger project, like maybe 20-30 minute short film that we could do. And, he has the connections to do financing for that kind of stuff. And I'm going to turn my phone sideways. So it's about to die. I'm going to plug it in. But she, hold on. There we go. That looked decent. I think so. Anyway, but he has a lot more connections in the Kansas City area in terms of just filmmaking and networking and all that kind of stuff and financing. And so we're kind of trying to use him as like a launching point for any future, or for at least if he wants to do a collaboration with a project. That's what we're going to be kind of using his connections to do that. And so we've been wanting to get more, trying to transition into filmmaking a little more, but you have to do client work to kind of just have this pretty much 80% of what we've made over the past five months.
Capital, right?
Well, not even that. We just have to. About 80% of what we've been making over the past 6 months is just buying equipment.
Right.
Like we've had to buy cameras, lights, tripods. Everything you can think of. So just everything.
So how do
gimbals, like,
taxes work for your group? If you're mostly doing client work and that's kind of on a month-to-month basis, so I feel a lot of those projects are probably like one-time payments for some of them. So how do you keep track of your one-time payment? Do you guys have like an accounting, like ledger type deal?
Yeah, I mean, I have totals of everything, and that's pretty much the only way I'm keeping track of it right now is through that kind of ledger. But no, definitely, as you were texting me about like a while ago, we definitely in the I don't know, long term or what it would be, need somebody for that, for all that kind of stuff, because that's
Right.
obviously, that's like one other thing that I just don't want to have to worry about is,
Yeah.
because right now, like, if you take these, so we have 5 other people besides me that are working in this group, 4 other people that are working in this group, and they're all pretty talented people in their own niche, and they all have, are pretty inspired, and they all want to kind of go this route. But if, let's say, like, we showed up at a client shoot and I wasn't there to like help to like manage it and kind of look over things, I mean, I don't know how much would get done.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, I have to be like, I am the manager. I mean, I'm pretty much the manager, like the, connector. I do all the client email, I do all the logistics, I do all the, all the website stuff, all the, getting everything set up. I'm kind of, so there's like a thing called a first AD on set. And that guy keeps track of the time. Like, he's not the director, but he keeps track of the time. He keeps track of the kind of the project management of everything, making sure everything's done correctly, all that kind of stuff. Just making sure everything is good in that sense. And there's also a role called a UPM, which is a unit production manager. Pretty much does a similar role, making sure it's more specified, but making sure everything's done correctly. And I kind of fit those 2 roles as first AD and unit production manager. And because obviously I'm on set for every shoot we do, and I've run camera before, I've run sound before. I mean, in high school I've done all that stuff, everything. And I still tend to do that today, just depending on who needs to be where and whatever. But most recently I've kind of been the watch, the kind of just the man. I just want to say manager for all this kind of stuff. And because honestly, like, nothing. I don't know if I don't think anybody would have done these. Like, if I wasn't a part of this group, that I don't think anything would have happened. Honestly,
Right.
just because they all have the talent, but nobody is coordinated enough. These guys barely respond to their emails, so it's like, we have to. And they're getting better. Everybody's getting better, right? Because we're always coming out of high school. I'm like both, even like Rink, like my stepdad and my dad, both have run companies, and they still run companies. And they all, pretty much out of high school, that's all they've really done and that's kind of where I've learned all the lingo and just how to communicate and, be accountable and all that kind of stuff, is just through that. And, these guys, I'm trying to teach them up a little bit and just get them used to, interacting with clients. And, it's good that I'm in charge of doing that. Because, I mean, by this point, and I'm learning a lot of stuff, and these guys are learning a lot of stuff, and just getting every time we get, we have a big client shoot, we just get more experience on set, and we're learning. And we just got this nice new camera. We just shot our first short film on that 3-minute short film. This like $2,000 camera that we had to pay for, and so yeah, no, it's we're getting to know we just bought like a ton of equipment before that, probably like $4,000 worth of equipment, and so we're all getting used to like our brand new audio setup and our new camera setup and this big rig we have, and just getting these. Before that, we were like using this one little shotgun mic and this DSLR that shot 1080p and a tripod. That was it pretty much for everything. And now we get like all like this wireless audio setup and all this, and so everybody's trying to get used to using that stuff. And so yeah, it's been interesting. And I don't right now. The thing is about this kind of industry is they say you shouldn't have a backup plan, because then you're not putting 100% of your effort into it. And that's true to an extent. I have an idea of maybe what I'd go into or try to go into if, in the long run, this doesn't work out. But right now it's working out. And, especially in this, era, I think it's, I don't know, there's a lot of opportunity. And like for us, and we just have to take it. We have to execute and take advantage of those opportunities, and make the money while we can, and hopefully this guy, his name is Dylan Allen. He's I said local Kansas City filmmaker, but he thinks we have some really good potential, and he's seen some of our work and he really likes it, and I think maybe the first project we collaborate with him on will probably be more of a fun thing and kind of just, like mess around, collaborate, see what we can make, not make it a real big thing. But if it goes really well and he likes how we work together and all that kind of stuff, then I think the next project with him could be a like legitimately financed project and probably could be sold to distributors, and we could all have some back end deals where if it was successful, then we can all make some money. And then who knows from there where we go? I honestly don't know.
Right.
So,
it's really exciting.
No, it is. It's very, because you can go, because I know people, there's a guy in Kansas City named is Morgan Cooper. And a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, he was a guy who just did music videos in Kansas City just to pay rent. Like he was decent, but he wasn't like a great director or anything, and just making music videos. And he shot this, he went to LA and he shot this, I don't know, he was there for some other reason, but he shot this like in like 2 weeks or something like that. He shot this trailer for a new version of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, like a new version, like a more dramatic version, not a comedy, dramatic version, like a feature for this, right? Of like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And Will Smith saw it, and he like had it on his Instagram and blew up on YouTube and stuff. And Will Smith saw it and flew this guy out to LA and had him talk to a bunch of people. And now this guy, like literally a year and a half later, he's making a full length feature, or I think it's a full length feature of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, like a new take on it. But he's also has like, I think he has he's being called to direct 2 HBO shows, right? And so this guy literally, his career went like straight, like he was literally making like $600 like music videos 2 years ago, and now he's doing HBO shows in LA. It's like it's that easy to get. You just have to have one project that gets noticed,
right? Seen by
and that's
Will
all
Smith.
it takes. Yeah,
you just gotta make a Fresh Prince of Bel-Air reboot. That's how you make it in Hollywood. Yeah. Let's talk about the culture in the movie industry a little bit.
Okay.
Harvey Weinstein famously got long time ago in the Me Too movement.
Aiden, hold on. I mean, you totally just cut out on me.
Okay. Yeah, let's talk about. Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. Yeah.
Let me say again. Harvey Weinstein got pretty early on with the Me Too movement. Then you have a lot of things. You have what is it? I really found Joe Rogan's take on the subject to be interesting. His idea is that if the genders were flipped, then there would be almost no sympathy. And what is it? He's like, what if you had to fuck some obese, ugly ass old woman to be Batman, right?
Yeah, that's interesting to think about.
You would do it, right?
Probably, yeah.
To be Batman,
would, yeah.
Like
I mean, Christian Bale would, yeah.
Yeah, and but, so it's like
that's interesting. I didn't think about that before.
Right.
But yeah, no, that's interesting to think. I mean, my whole take is, so there's a lot of, I've seen, I do a lot of, I don't want to call it research, but I've seen a lot of videos. I'll just say that I've seen a lot of information. It may not be a completely, and I don't take it, and I take everything objectively that I watch. I don't think I'll take it all as true and as not true. I take it, an objective point as possible is looking at all the context from every source, right? That's what you should do. And I've seen a lot of stuff, and there's a lot of pretty hairy shit that goes on behind the scenes in Hollywood. Yeah, I'll just say that. I mean, we can go into it, but yeah, I mean, there's when it comes down to it, there's really only probably 3 or 4 really huge production companies that have that take probably 80 to 90% of all these films that are made, right? And they have pretty much complete control because they're the financiers of these projects, right? They provide the $200 million that it takes to make them. So they pretty much have complete control of whatever, if there is any kind of agenda that's going to be made in a film, these people have control over it. The people at the top of these companies have control over what's going to be said in the film. And it may be really subtle things, just, anything that they're wanting to push in any kind of degree. I mean, it's all about. I mean, since this is going in a totally different direction, but like since like the 40s, since like film was really discovered as a really huge influencer in the public forum, pretty much.
Yeah, it's a
There's
cultural
been
tool.
quite a bit of government. Yeah, there's been quite a bit of government research and just the pretty much the psychological influence that films have over a population. And I'm not saying that they're directly related to each other, but there might be a real good chance that, if you wanted to change the public opinion over something really slowly and do it pretty much unnoticeably, it would be through film. It would be through, you know, for 20 years making the same kind of just slightly agenda of movies, right? That aren't really saying a whole lot, but like when you look at everything combined, it's like a real obvious, like they're trying to push you in this direction kind of thing, right? And yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of like Quentin, a couple examples of people who don't do this kind of stuff and who don't really, they have their own deal and they don't really buy into any of the crap that like Disney is and all big Hollywood is. It's like Quentin Tarantino, Christopher Nolan, Scorsese, all the really good directors. They kind of use their own. They're big enough, and Spielberg, they are to an extent, but they use their own production companies, their own.
Hello. Oh, all right. We'll be right back.
Yeah, so there's definitely people who aren't in that that little area of people who have to follow what I don't want to say the top one, not the top 1%, but like the probably there's probably 8 to 10 people who control most of those 4 production companies, whatever they're putting out there. And there's definitely a lot of filmmakers who don't follow that. Obviously, any indie filmmaker is not following that. But in a lot of the big successful films you see, like I don't know, anything that's not like a series or from Disney or anything like that, they're probably not following it either. But there's definitely a good majority of Hollywood that's controlled by this small group of people. And relating back to what you're saying for Harvey Weinstein, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's really unfortunate. I'm not surprised at all. I wasn't surprised when it happened. But I don't know. That is a really interesting take by Joe Rogan. I mean, I love watching Joe Rogan for a lot of different reasons. But yeah, he's a really good objective person. And I don't know. I don't know what else to say about that. I mean, I don't know what else there is to say. I mean, I'm not surprised by it. And
main question would be, let's focus real quick. It really is. Why do you think that this kind of sexual component to crime is so prevalent in the film industry? Like why do you think that
obviously Weinstein
out?
so
obviously Weinstein.
Well, so obviously right now is a good obviously Weinstein is he was, all those people, all those kind of people, they're in a position of extreme power when it comes to determining who's doing what, right? Like who gets what role, who gets to be. It's pretty much like a ticket to success, right? Let's say there's a huge film with like a $300 million budget coming up, right? And this girl has a chance. And this girl is a kind of a breakout actor. She's not really known that well, right? And she's pretty talented, and she has a decent audition or whatever. And it's up to Harvey Weinstein or whoever the producer is or whatever it is, whoever's in the position of power, to either pretty much allow them to make millions probably for the rest of their career if they're good enough, or just make, I don't know, 5 million, whatever their
So you think it's kind of like
for this film is going to be
gatekeeping, huh?
And they're in that position. Yeah, it's gatekeeping. I mean, they're in their position of power. I don't know. I mean, obviously, yeah, they're learning. I doubt it's happening very much. If anything anymore, because obviously people are learning that time is pretty much over. There's not really any. You see people like there's a guy. I mean, people get fired from top companies for like saying to employee that like they have they have a nice ass. I mean, stuff like that. They get completely, their life gets destroyed for saying like you have a nice ass, like something like that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like it's gone from like, and I don't know. I think there should be some sort of line. Obviously, there's a lot of difference between rape and sexual assault, and then saying some. I mean, I don't know. It's like there's. I think there should be a line there where
it's
like
like
there's
sexual
like suspension.
harassment in certain contexts has kind of been stretched to kind of be overbearing on kind of most social situations. I think a lot of companies post in their sexual harassment guidelines, they'll even post an appropriate amount of time to make eye contact with a female.
Yeah, that's a little crazy.
And
That's too.
So
that doesn't work.
So we can talk a little bit about this. What do you think the ripple effects from like the Me Too movement have really like caused in society? Do you think that people are behaving better? Do you think that it's
I mean, people, if anything, no. I feel like people, I don't know, people are already way too soft. So like there's this saying, right? Hard times create hard men, right? And hard individuals and tough individuals, right? And those individuals create good times, and good times create soft people and soft men and soft, societies and everything like that. And soft societies fall into themselves and they create hard times, and it just repeats on that cycle, right? And post World War II United States was full of a shit ton, in Vietnam, a shit ton of hard people. And now we're just, kind of prancing around in our own, I don't know, in our own system. And you think about that, this is kind of not going off into a totally different route, but it's kind of what it is. People don't understand how good they have it here. They really don't. They don't understand it at all. I mean, people just don't, like, there is so little oppression in this country. There's, I mean, go try to live as a woman in Saudi Arabia, okay? Then come talk to me about your, I mean, obviously there's a ton of horrible stuff that's gone on in Hollywood, and that's getting exposed now, and that's not going to happen anymore. And people are coming out, and that's all. I mean, it needed to happen, and now we're kind of over that. I feel like, at least to a degree.
Okay.
Because I feel like now there's no, you aren't going to get fired by your boss, or if any. I mean, nothing's going to happen to you. If anything, you're going to get lifted up on a massive pedestal, which is good, and you're going to get respected, and you're going to get all these accolades for coming out against that kind of stuff, which is great. And that guy's going to get shit on, and his life's going to probably get destroyed. And it is what it is. It's his choice, and that's But and so I don't really think there's any real issue for that anymore. And if there is, then it's another social structure, or like another institution that has its own power structure where women are, or I don't know, or whoever the individual is, a lower, this could be happening on freaking D1 rowing teams. I mean, it's not, but think about it. Like, you got a coach.
Yeah, definitely could.
For 20 years.
The coach could be doing
got, like,
that.
all these girls. I mean, yeah, it's true. I mean, and he has full control over if this girl gets a scholarship or not, right? So It's like, I doubt it's happening, but it could be happening. That's the whole thing. It's like you can think of any institution that has that kind of setup, right? And I don't know, but the ones that are a lot more, get a lot more coverage and everything are like obviously all the big ones and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, because you have these famous people that are making a muck, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. You remember like the gymnastics one, like where that guy did all that horrible like that, and like So it's interesting to look at, but people don't like, there's so many things. I don't want to go like totally out of line here, but like there's so many like people obviously protest and they do all this anti-government shit, and there's all kinds of I just don't think they understand what would happen to them if they did that in another country.
Right.
Like Russia or China or pretty much any other superpower in the world. Like if they tried to do that, if they tried to do the kind of stuff that they're doing in those other countries, they would get bad shit would happen to them. But they don't realize that, because here's what I think the United States system is. We're not perfect, right? We're not perfect. No system can be perfect. Okay. Utopias don't exist in this world. And I think we're pretty close. I think right now we are pretty close to as best a system as you're going to get. Pretty close. Okay. And and people can keep, screaming for, do you see the thing in California? Like the governor just pretty much set up a leeway for like reparations for slavery to be paid. Like it's probably not going to happen, but he's literally setting up the framework for that. It's like come on, like history exists for a reason. Okay. People who erase history are doomed to repeat it. Okay. And like the whole thing with like, there's literally articles now that are like, did you know George Washington was a slave owner? It's like, no shit, dude. It's like, what do you think this is? Like, I just don't understand like the whole anti-history, like, and like it was a different time. Okay, I mean that's true in every sense. There's people on both sides that, from your party today, from whoever's party, from both your part, I mean, that have done horrible stuff. And okay, and we're not, but the history is there, so we can learn from it. We can kind of try to create a better system. And I feel like we're pretty close to the point where we've created as pretty much as good as it's going to get. People don't realize that, and they think that there's a ton of issues. I mean, I don't know. I feel like in near, not every sense, definitely not every sense, but in a lot of respects, we have created a pretty decent system for society to exist. And I don't know. That's pretty much my take on it, and I'm glad that the Me Too movement had its show, and we got it kind of over with because it needed to happen. But I'm pretty glad that it's over now, just so we're not. Because it was just and what I also don't like about all these kind of some of these movements sometimes is they're just very like it just. I mean, I don't watch media, like I don't really take any news seriously anymore, just because it's all biased and it's all. They all have their own whatever they're trying to push, and that's fine, and that's like everything objectively. But it just gets shoved down your throat so much. I just hate it. I hate media and any form of like online stuff. People trying to shove things down their throat. That like it just annoys the hell out of me. Like you can do whatever you want. I don't care. I'm not gonna bug you about it. But you can do whatever the hell you want. Just do not try to push it down don't try to enforce it with me. That's pretty much my take on it. I'm a law-abiding citizen. I do everything correct. I mean, it's not like, I'm not the problem. So stop trying to. So that's kind of my take on that kind of thing. But no, I'm glad that Me Too movement happened, and it's had its thing, and it's and those things are still getting exposed in probably a lot of institutions, and that's good. And yeah, I mean, I'm glad it happened, and now it's over. And yeah, I don't know.
So you brought up reparations in California, and the point that you raised kind of seemed to be one that would be the antithesis of, I think, what the governor is trying to do right now, is that opinion. And so I think that one of the reasons that reparations are such a popular solution to an issue that really the actual system of slavery that ended a few hundred years ago, right? Or 100 years ago, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like 160 or 170.
Yeah. It was, and so it's like you have an entire race of people that feel some kind of systemic prejudice, and obviously some people are exaggerating. There's never going to be a group that's entirely composed of people who are always telling the truth, right? Especially when you have one that's as large as the entirety of the Black population in America, right? You see on the news almost every day, any person who's interviewed about being pulled over by police says that they feel like they could lose their life at an ordinary traffic stop. And so what do you think about that? Do you think that it's kind of overhyped? Do you think that because the idea is that these people do not trust, these people being African Americans,
the police,
do not trust the police largely, right? At least in the media, that's how it's represented, right? They always feel that they could get shot at any moment. They feel that the cops are usually more aggressive. What do you think about that? Do you think that there's a lot of weight to just the sheer amount of people that feel prejudice? Do you think that that's something that should be considered when? Why do you think they feel that way?
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't. So it would really, I think it would come down to, obviously there's something like, I think it's, I mean, there's tens of billions of police interactions every year, right? And whatever percentage of those that go badly, obviously there's bad cops out there, right? There's a huge majority of really great cops, and obviously there's always those who aren't great, and they're the ones who get the most of the media attention for, you know, for their brand pretty much. And no, I definitely, it was interesting. It would be interesting to compare the number of people who talk about, number of African Americans who talk about, feeling unsafe around police and all that kind of, and what you just said, compared to the number of people of African Americans who talk about it that have actually experienced it. And that'd be a really interesting stat to think about, because if that's never happened, if they live in Johnson County, Kansas, right, and that's never happened to them before, but they talk about it as such, I think it's pretty interesting. I don't know. That's the part that I don't really buy, is that, if you're in somewhere in the South that's notorious for if this kind of thing has happened multiple times, and it's kind of obvious that there's a
like white superiority hotspots.
Yeah, exactly. Then I would definitely agree that there's a concern. But I feel like the number of people that might be not, I don't want to say, maybe in certain areas when they travel someplace they don't feel safe, but I would say that there might be a certain trend to just say that kind of thing. Right. I don't know, and especially if they're in agreement, if you're an African American, and let's say it's not happened to you, and you really, in your heart, you really have never not felt safe, but it's that you agree with the narrative that it's a big issue, and you want to reinforce that, then it's pretty easy to say that you don't feel safe, right? I mean, if you think about it that way, if they're really in agreement with the issue, and the thing about people, like all the any news, pretty much any news organization, interviewing people or polling people or whatever, they don't really, I mean, I was in statistics, they don't really do it in a very unbiased way.
Right.
And just socially, and I mean, they're going to wait outside like a friggin', you know what I mean? Like they're in the right place.
They'll pick a spot.
Exactly. They'll pick a spot. Exactly.
Blue neighborhood, and they'll set up there.
They'll pick a spot in a low income. Yeah, exactly. They'll get whatever they can, and they'll have multiple crews do, whatever. And so yeah, I feel like it's kind of an overrepresented thing. But obviously, there's bad cops out there, and I don't know. I mean, I saw a picture of, like, during the riots, there was like this, this woman, like this white woman, like at a riot, and she was flipping off this black riot cop, right? Like in DC or something like that. I'm like, okay, like look at this. Like it's like, oh my God. Like it's just like,
it seems
I feel like there's a hell of a lot more. No, it is. I mean, I feel like there's a hell of a lot more white people, angry liberal white people, that think they're trying to contribute to the cause, that are on the side of that, than black people are. Because I feel like probably a lot of, and if there was a legitimate poll done, like a legitimate scientific poll or census done, I feel like there would be, I don't want to, probably a majority of African Americans that hate that, maybe that kind of violence is being associated with this movement, and that's kind of a bad. Because I agree. So the phrase Black Lives Matter, I agree with that. It's pretty obvious, right? But the organization Black Lives Matter is a whole different beast, right? There's been at least 4 to 5 founders and co-founders of different chapters of BLM across the nation that have been investigated and indicted by the FBI for fraud. They spent the money that they're making off these, millions of dollars of donations on their own. Yeah, on their house, whatever the hell they want, and they're not. And even like the national organization, like I think they have like 6 or 7 like custom built like charter buses, but they haven't done. I haven't seen one positive news, like any piece of and so all these news organizations would be the first ones to report on this kind of thing that was happening. If the national organization was putting money into inner city, what schools, was putting money into doing volunteer work, was putting money into doing like volunteer like painting and food drive, all this kind of stuff. If
they could start renovating shitty homes in shitty neighborhoods.
Chicago, they could literally they could start doing tenant repair, all this kind of stuff, and it would get coverage. I guarantee it would get coverage, because that's what all these kind of,
an extremely positive thing for the people. Yeah, it's exactly what they want.
Guess what? They're not doing it.
Yeah,
they're not doing it though. I haven't seen one. What are they doing with all these millions of dollars that they're raising? What are they doing? Right. I mean, I've seen videos of in Portland and stuff, of literally nothing has happened yet. Maybe there's like some, I don't know, maybe somebody gets accidentally or whatever, some shooting or something happens in Chicago, and they'll be like, I've seen multiple videos of. I want to know who's funding these people because there's literally videos of U-Haul trucks showing up, okay, and like 30 people run up to this spot, and they literally open the U-Haul truck and they get signs out, pre-made signs. There's like 30 or like the truck is full of all this like rioting, like shields, all this kind of stuff, right? And like 40 people go up to this truck and get all their shit out, and they all go and start, going nuts. And like I want to know who's funding these people because that's a big thing. People think that George Soros is funding a lot of these organizations. Believe it or not, they think that Soros is funding a lot of them just because it would play into
he's
that kind
he's
of
the
agenda. But
liberal overhand. He's like the liberal overlord
exactly.
that controls
He's the puppet. He's the puppet. Yeah, he's the puppet master. Exactly.
According to
right. I mean,
people who
according
believe
to
that.
Yeah, right?
According to those people.
And I don't know if that's true or whatever, but it's interesting to think about. I mean, there's definitely weird incidents of these kind of large protests kind of just starting out of nowhere, right? I mean, you can look up video of like U-Haul. I mean, you can find it. Just they just open it up, start throwing signs out, all these like pre-made signs, that are like all death to all cops. All this, it's like, where the hell are you getting all this stuff from, right? It's like these people don't like they know where this is a rendezvous point. They're sitting up here. It's like it's coordinated stuff to a degree. So it would be interesting to see, who's organizing it, who's funding it, all that kind of stuff.
So one of the things I did want to kind of get your opinion on is, and why reparations seem like more of a good idea, kind of after considering the fact that these issues aren't unifaceted. Like they're not just about the overstepping and or overuse of force by the police on these African American people. An anecdote that my education professor shared with me is when he was getting his doctorate at the Kansas State University, his professor told him, I didn't think someone like you could write a paper like this. And he's this big 6'2" black guy, right?
Well, which guy?
The teacher.
Which guy's 6'2" black guy?
My teacher, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Gotcha.
And so he's this big 6'2" black guy, and he writes his doctorate thesis or whatever on. He didn't tell us the topic, but he hands it in, and the professor gives it back to him and says, I didn't think someone like you could do this. And he never clarified what she meant. I don't think she did, but it was very heavily implied that it was regarding his like race, because other than that, he's just a big 6'2" guy from Kansas, right?
I got you.
And so, I think what a lot of people are feeling is prejudice and almost in a lot more facets of society. I think there's a lot of almost casual racism that happens, and it makes people, and then
like subconscious bias, like all that.
Right. And then you have the president of the United States, when asked directly about condemning white supremacy, he first of all, he stumbled, and then he didn't sidestep it. He stumbled because he didn't know what to say. And then he said Proud Boys. He referenced one group of people who have been categorized as alt-right. He told the Proud Boys to stand back and stand down and stand by, right?
Yeah.
Now, I think the question was bad. I don't think it's the point of any president to condemn any one ideology. I think that's the beauty of America, is you're supposed to have all these different ideologies coexisting together. That's what democracy kind of is, It's like...
Agreed.
And so there's that aspect of it, and that's why I didn't like the question, but Trump's handling of that question was absolute buffoonery. He could have said straight out the bat, I denounce all violence made on the behalf of any political ideology.
The race,
He could have said that, and he could have totally distanced himself from that white supremacist who drove his car through a group in Virginia. He could have, I don't know if it was Virginia. He could have separated himself from the Tiki Torch thing that happened. Literally anything where people are violent. He could have denounced the cops who it's really sketchy what happened to Breonna Taylor.
Yeah,
There are
yeah.
a lot of different reports. The family says something,
Yeah.
the police say something else. They're
It's definitely a
and
tragedy.
they didn't
It
have
sucks. It
they
sucks
didn't
that it
have body
happened.
cameras on, dude. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Like,
it sucks that it happened.
and so it's kind of like, so to kind of get away from the police, let me kind of nix the Breonna Taylor comment.
Do you want me to talk about? You want me to respond to like what I was?
Yeah.
You're asking with Trump.
What do you think about kind of
both
his stumbling and what he said?
Yeah, sure. He's the thing about the thing about Trump is like I never expect like a well versed performer from him ever, pretty much. He's the guy who's going to go out there and say whatever the hell he either thinks or he's not thinking, which kind of might have been the case in this. And you're definitely right. He should have just said it outright, which it's interesting. I think it depends on how you look. I don't know how much you've seen or done. I mean, he's definitely done it. He should have done it again. I definitely agree. He should have just said it no point blank and just been, I mean, he said sure a couple times, but who the hell knows what that means. But
it's like, and then he goes, and then he's asking for specifics, like he doesn't want to insult the entirety of the group. Yeah,
exactly. He has done it in the past quite a few times, just on like white supremacy alone.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he was probably just not wanting to. I don't know. Yeah, he should have done it, and I don't know why he didn't. Honestly, he has done it in the past. That is out there, and you can look up I've seen like a 10-minute compilation. I mean, I've seen parts of like a 10-minute compilation of him denouncing it in his term. But yeah, I mean, he should have done it again. He didn't. And I mean, I don't know. He's always been. I mean, he's doing the same thing to a lesser degree. Like, did you see the VP debate?
Yeah, and
okay. So, like, I think Kamala Harris did. I mean, she was okay. I would say anybody with a brain watching that debate would say she lost. Okay, just because of the pure amount of she pretty much didn't answer any question, like even the remotely direct. I mean, Pence didn't do that great of a job either answering anything directly. Nobody in politics answers questions directly like that. This is close to an election, but she did a much worse job of answering questions with any kind of factual backup or like legitimate, like real solid, even if it was kind of fake, even real solid like bullshit answers. You know what I mean? So and she was just sidestepping all that. She didn't have a really good poker face. She was kind of just making all these weird emotional, like weird laughs and all this kind of stuff. Like she was getting that's what I would have done. Like if somebody was telling like bad truths about me or like stuff that I didn't want to get known, that's what I would do. I would laugh like that and I would try to play it off like it's nothing. Right? That's what I would do. I wouldn't sit there like this. I would do exactly what she did and probably get nervous and try to laugh it off and all that kind of stuff. So I think Trump did a better job than that. But no, I mean he should have. I mean, it's it's politics. They're going to sidestep stuff. But yeah, he should have just called it out once again. But I mean, he was probably just trying to. He was probably honestly, like you're probably thinking, trying to protect that little base of his vote, right? I mean, even if people don't, there's people out there who. And I don't know, the Proud Boys. If you said like KKK, then obviously that's way. I mean, they're like pretty much non-existent anymore. But even if they are, they're obviously extreme off the end. And the Proud Boys, I've seen stuff on both ends of the spectrum of them being horrible. Of I'm sure there's certain events where they weren't as bad or whatever, or it just depends. Because I think the majority of their leaders actually are minorities, which is kind of interesting that I've seen. But
the group was started by Gavin McInnes, who was also the founder of Vice News, and he was dubbed the original hipster before becoming, I guess, because I think he started out initially as on the Democrat side. I think he was a proud liberal.
Oh yeah,
and then as society kind of started changing around him, he kind of. I don't really think
he's even with the group anymore.
No, he's distanced himself from the group because of the violence that the group or that people have done.
They definitely
been
involved in. Yeah, exactly. And I think there's been a lot of events where they've kind of shown up to kind of probably obviously the wrong idea, but they've shown up. The Proud Boys have shown up to kind of gatekeep events. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And like if Antifa's there, or if like whoever violent protesters are there, they kind of, at least they say that they're kind of there to keep the peace. and any violence that starts, they say that they kind of finish it, or they try to bring it to some kind of, that's what at least I've seen them say, is that that's kind of what they like to put themselves there for, is either to, you know, if they get attacked, they're going to finish it, or they're there in the pre, if anything's going to happen, if anybody else is going to show up and make violence, they're going to be there too, just to either stop it or I don't know, you know, punish those people or however you want to call it. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure they've been on both ends of the spectrum on, you know, probably inciting violence and probably not inciting violence. I don't know if they're like real. I know they're considered alt-right, and they're Western chauvinists, and I don't know if I wouldn't call them white supremacists though, just because I've seen tons of interviews of you know, Black and Mexican, like they have leaders at all these events there's tons and tons of minorities that are part of these
yeah,
guys. So
but
I don't know. I wouldn't say they're all white, but they definitely incite violence in certain events, and they're not, you know, overly good, which is probably the
all right, Thomas. There, but, yeah. We are running out of time here. So one last thing before we wrap up. You got anything fun going on?
What do you mean, this, like, in general?
So, like, podcast number 1, the dude said he was gonna have sex with his girlfriend at some point. So it can be something as basic as that, or it could be your next big film project. Because I know that you're working on that with.
I mean, yeah, a couple of guys. I mean, yeah. in regards to, I mean, I'll just talk about film, I guess. Then, I mean, I could go into either one, but yeah, I'd rather go into film. Yeah, I mean, maybe just you know, check out. Should I give like a shout out? I don't even know what the hell I'm supposed to do. I mean, yeah, we're probably going to be involved in a.
What do you do?
We're probably going to be involved in like a. I mean, you can look for our the title of this Netflix documentary probably next year. It's called Scouts Honor. It's a like full length documentary, kind of recounting this one guy's story of how he was abused for years in Boy Scouts, which is unfortunate because I was part of Boy Scouts, and I enjoyed my time there. But yeah, so kind of just a, you know, another aspect of kind of like a, you know, like all the stuff that's going on in the Catholic Church. But I don't want to say it's that degree. It's not like that big of a thing in Boy Scouts, hopefully. But this is this one guy's story of how he was abused by one of the Scoutmasters at his troop for a couple of years and had a massive impact on his life. And it's a full-length documentary, and we'll be in the credits for that. And yeah, just check it out. Mountain View Pictures across social media. And,
Mountain View, not Mountain Dew.
Mountain View Pictures LLC.
Mountain Dew Pictures LLC. You heard it here first.
Yeah,
all right.
Indeed. All right. Well, thanks for having me. And it was I love talking, and enjoy volunteering at KCRC.
Oh yeah, I definitely will. If you made it to this video, please leave a comment, leaving what you thought about our conversation, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And have a good day.